Okay, I think we are recording. Oh, okay, I can see you guys. Good deal. So can you see, oh wait, no, maybe not. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, is it the meeting?
Yeah, it's like I can see myself.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna switch over here and then we'll just kind of click back, I guess.
Oh, snap. I gotta plug in my laptop.
Okay. So I'm Kara Pemberton. And I'm Jessica Willard. And we are training on Training Superstar Paras. Here is the Google Meet, which you guys are already on. Just some things we're going to go over is our handbook, the paras and online teaching resources for you, scheduling, delegating, what to do at downtime, the teacher's role and para's role, and purpose of the para. Jess, did you want to add anything?
No, we kind of are going to hit some of what we think is our more exciting stuff in the beginning, because we didn't want to run out of time doing that. So the stuff that is kind of at the bottom of that list is stuff that we have mostly taken from like Dr. Henderson's para training and stuff like that. So if we don't get to that, that's stuff that you already can get to another way. So we're just going to try to hit some of the stuff that is maybe a little more unique to us.
Okay. So a lot of times our paras are just kind of thrown into our classroom and they're given a para handbook, but it's more like read it when you get time. And some of it is just not very specific to our classrooms. So last spring, I had an opportunity to go to a training where they talked about how to make a para a superstar in your classroom. And one thing they did was they had their own, like pretty much a classroom para handbook. And they printed it out and they laid it on a table in a binder so that paras can access anytime. Anytime that they had a question, they could go straight to the handbook and find lots of examples. So what I did, and Jess did as well, is I pretty much copied everything from that other handbook and I just tweaked pretty much the whole thing. So please feel free. The link is right here to this Google Doc that I'm showing you. And so beg still borrow anything you want. This is just our front page. And then it's got a table of contents. And this thing just goes into depth or details and gives a lot of resources for professional roles and responsibilities, do's and don'ts for paraprofessionals, absences, confidentiality, chain of command for problems. It goes into CPI, emergency plans. It shows examples of IEP goals, things like that. So just a quick run through is like it just lays out it like anything that is headed right there. So like here's the roles and responsibilities, the do's and don'ts, and it gives examples of those. What to do with absences, who to contact, dress. You wouldn't think you would really need dress, but sometimes it just happens, and sometimes they just need a guide for how to do that. Confidentiality, ways to avoid confidentiality problems. If there's and then who to go to if there's a problem, the chain of command, which I thought was super useful, even for me, because you're not always given that, or at least don't have it quickly referenced. And I'm sorry if I'm scrolling through these really quick. We have a lot of behaviors, so we just kind of did dealing with behaviors. When you enter a classroom and a student is elevated, what do you do? When you enter this bedroom, how should you come in interact with the kids, planned ignoring, some of our district CPI, emergency plans, and like evaluations. There we put in a written warning for them, and then we put in this paraprofessional evaluation by the classroom teacher and how they can be evaluated that way. And then we put in the artisan teacher because that's what we follow, and any school can do like whatever that school follows, but pretty much it'll be all Branson. So that's in there. And then definitions of the different exceptionalities, things like that. So please feel free to look over that. Even at the end, we threw in what a goal IEP goals looked like so that they can see that for progress or getting ready for progress notes. And the decision-making map, behavior reflections with the kid, a think sheet. And then we had some extra resources, but I couldn't get it like all scanned in on the handbook with the handbook because it was just a huge file. So I just scanned in those these extra, like this is a behavior document, and just some more examples of those, a think sheet, and yeah, this is another behavior resource, and then a class accommodation sheet, what they look like, things like that. And I couldn't, that link is right here. If you like if you copy and paste that into a tab, it'll come straight to this and you can download it. But that was something that I thought was just really helpful, and it gave me a ton of information on like how to guide my paras when they don't know what to do and all that stuff. But I'm going to stop because we've got other things to get to. Did you guys have any like questions really quick for that?
That's amazing. I'm going to take it all. We're going to take it all.
Well, I liked it because we could make it specific to what like Kara and I want them to do. So it's not just like general, this is what you should do. It's like, this is exactly what Kara and I want you to do in this situation. And we thought that was really helpful. We've also had paras who are not much of like a self-starter, and they don't really take the initiative. So we put a whole thing in there with like, if you have downtime, like here is an entire list of things that you can be doing without us asking you to do them. So just kind of trying to give them more specific ideas of what we want that they can kind of refer to whenever they need to. So that's why we liked it.
And this is like, it's just what it looks like. It's not colored copied, but it's not very thick either. You know, it's quick access, it's quick access, and just a lot of good references or resources in here. So anyway, I'm really excited about it.
Julia already like requested access for it. So if that's okay.
I granted her that access, right?
Huh?
Did I grant her that access to that?
I don't think so.
It said like she had to request it, and
for
it's
both the things.
for both links.
I'll look into that and see if I can give her access. Okay, moving on.
Thank
you. Yeah, of course. I lost our spot. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so one thing that obviously is huge this year is trying to prepare ourselves for online teaching. And so what we were trying to find is some really cool ideas for involving your paras if we do go to an online situation. So we have linked 3 different articles that we found that kind of outline some things that you can have paras do. So some of the things that we found from there that we're going to try to do is have, you can have paras create read alouds. Just have them pick a book and read it and record it. You can upload that. You could even take that and make like an ed puzzle video out of it. So there's comprehension questions to go with it. You can have them join during like your Google Meets to take data. So one thing that's going to be super hard if we're going online is like those social skill goals. So if you're having like a Google Meet, you could have them take data on maybe how many times you have to like verbally remind them to pay attention, or how many times you have to prompt them to do a certain thing. That's really hard to do when you're the one talking and doing everything. So having that extra person there to take data would be awesome. You could even do it with, if you're doing any type of reading instruction, you could have them keep track of accuracy for you. Another idea is if you do like a calendar time or a circle time or a morning meeting or something like that. How we understand it is paras cannot do their own Google meeting without the teacher, but you could have them run it and you're just kind of sitting on there. You could take data, you could, you know, be working on something else if you have something else that you need to get done, but you could kind of supervise that while they're doing that. Other cool ideas are to have them make videos modeling things. So modeling how to start a load of laundry, modeling how to bake something, modeling how to load a dishwasher and start it. I mean, super easy things that they're probably already doing. Well, obviously they're doing, we hope. Just have them make a video explaining how they're doing it. That's a really easy way to get some functional skills in there. You could also do like a weekly craft project where they're doing and explaining how to do a certain craft. You could do like a science project or like a STEM activity that they could lead. This would also be a really, really good time for them to do some professional development type of things. A lot of times, like when we do PLC and stuff, they don't really get included in a lot of that, and it's not really geared towards them. So it would be a really good time to have them do some of that kind of stuff. You can also have them researching activities, games, videos that go with your kids' IEP goals. And you could like make a Google Doc for each student and have them just throw in games or activities when they find them. So there's a lot of really cool ideas. Some people, I know my paras would probably not be super excited, but some people were like, oh, I'm gonna have my paras make a video of a joke of the day or stuff like that. So just trying to involve them as much as possible in whatever way we can is the goal here. So hopefully those articles will kind of give you guys some really good ideas of ways to include them.
Julia, I think I went in and gave you access to that handbook so that you can go ahead and pull that up if you'd like to. I made you an editor, and that's fine, right? To make them an editor.
Yeah, just make sure you guys make a copy.
Yeah.
Make a copy. Definitely.
Okay. So this is some stuff that actually Jess came up with, and I listened to all 3 of these podcasts from the Autism Helper. They are all very good. Each of them are about 30 minutes. I think one is either 40 to 45 minutes, but they're short. They're concise too. Like it's not like a bunch of like this and this, and if you do this and this, but it's just some tips that are really good. From the Autism Helper. She's wonderful if you haven't followed her or seen any of her stuff. And they're short and easy to implement. She's got a bunch of good ideas. She on that website, on the Autism Helper, she talks about this Iris Center. I'm going to go to that because this is a ton of pretty much staff training. And that was one thing that at that the conference I went to, they had talked a lot about making like time to train your paras. And this has a lot. Like there's behavior and classroom management, collaboration, differentiated instruction, disability, diversity. And within each of these, see, like there's 102. There's modules, case studies, fundamental skills sheets, activities, all this stuff for behavior and classroom management. And these are really good things that maybe you're having an AMI day and you need your paras to do something and it's a quieter day for them. Send them one of these modules to complete, or send them there and tell them to pick something to do for that day. But there's just a ton of resources, and it talks about like making time to train your paras, and there's a whole different that's a whole different talk for a different day, but there's a lot of strategies out there and ways to do that. And I have some if you want to reach out to me, and I can talk that over with you. And then this is just the link to the slideshow that Sam had sent out for paraprofessionals. So you can access that too. We just wanted to make it available for you. Any questions on that? Okay. Oops, sorry, clicking the wrong thing.
All right, so scheduling is always one of those really fun puzzles at the beginning of the year. And you're sitting there going, how do we make all this work? And so what Kara and I do is we make one schedule for our whole building, like of paras. And so she has, you know, her paras, and then I have, you know, mine. But what it does is it makes it super easy for us to be like, oh my gosh, I've got something at 11 that I need a para for and I don't have one. I can very easily see if Kara has a para that's available at that time. It also is really helpful. We try not to ever have Kara by herself in her room, especially if things have been a little rough. So that schedule easily allows us to go in and be like, okay, this is a time when Kara's by herself for 30 minutes. I'm sending this person over. It just makes it really fluid for us. And we have paras going back and forth all the time. And it's really awesome to be able to share them like that. Another thing that we keep in mind is trying to use each para's strengths when we pair them with students. So like one of my paras is super academic, loves math, loves science, that's her thing. So I try to pair her with some of like my higher kids that are in class more, that might need more help with more academic things. And then I have other paras who are super compassionate and have huge hearts and are very good at being emotionally supportive. So they may go with a student who has a lot of like social skill issues or needs a lot of help with life skills. And so it's just trying to figure out who works best with who, and really just capitalizing on those paras' strengths. Another thing to keep in mind is just because I love a kid to death does not mean that everyone loves that kid to death. And there's times when no matter how hard you try, like you and this kid, you just get on each other's nerves. So it's finding that person in your room that can handle that kid maybe a little better than you, and putting them together so they have someone with them that that will show them that they like them, they're interested in them. Obviously I still do that, but there's always kind of personality things. And so just trying to make sure that personalities match. One thing that I'm always trying to decide is whether I keep paras with the same students all the time or if I want to mix it up. So normally I'm a huge fan of mixing it up because one, I don't want students to get to where they only will listen and build a relationship with that one para, because if that one para is absent, it is devastating. So I try to mix it up so they're used to everybody. Everybody kind of knows what each student's needs are and knows how to handle them. That being said, this year, while we're trying to kind of keep everyone in bubbles and we have to worry about contact tracing, this year I will probably try to keep the same para with the same kids. So if we do have to do a contact tracing type of thing, it's not like this para was in 8 different classrooms that day and now we have a nightmare. Another reason that we like doing our whole, like all of our paras on the same schedule is it's really easy to accidentally overload a para while another one is just in your all morning. Yeah.
I think someone's trying.
Nope. Did you guys have a question? No. Okay. So I try to like look at the overall schedule and make sure that like I don't have one para running all morning from class to class to class while another para is hanging out in my room helping me in here. So just trying to kind of even that out is helpful. We always do our best to schedule lunches and to try to take them. I know that's said all the time, and that's way harder than it sounds. But I mean, we really try to kind of push like everyone needs a break. Everyone, needs a few minutes to themselves. And so we will combine things, have paras go with multiple kids to get lunches, stuff like that. Also having all your paras on one schedule can help. It can help you to realize like, hey, we've got 2 paras going to 4th grade recess and we probably only need 1. So that will free up 1. So we just kind of try to make that whole process very streamlined so we can see what everybody's doing. It's also helpful for like principals and stuff because they can pull up that schedule and figure out where any para is at any given time. So that is kind of how we do our scheduling.
So delegating is very, very important. For me, it was really hard for the first year and a half because I didn't know what I really needed. So I couldn't really tell my paras too much what I needed them to do. So they had to be pretty patient with me, but they can do just about anything you need them to do. They can collect, or they can make copies, they can laminate, they can work on and make task boxes, they can lead small groups, they can help the kids figure out their schedules and help them follow it. They can help you find online resources, come up with crafts and fun activities. They can make a Kahoot. I mean, and especially now they can make, like Jess was saying earlier, they can make an Ed puzzle story, things like that, videos. There's a lot that they can do. So make sure that you are thinking about ways that you can delegate work to them under your supervision always, but it's just almost kind of endless to what they can do for you. So make sure that you're always being proactive and thinking, what can my para do so that I can have more time to do this, and just make sure you're utilizing their time while they're there, because they're there to help you and they want to. So just keeping that in mind. And there's a lot more on delegating as well. I'm just still super new at it, and I'm sure you guys could teach me a lot on delegating. So anything that you guys have come up with, please let me know.
So what to do with downtime? Sometimes we don't have a lot of downtime. But when we do, Kara and I always are trying to think of ways to just make it easy for parents to know what you're wanting them to do if they do have downtime, or maybe their student that they're with all the time is absent. That's a great time to have them catch up on some stuff for you. So in my room, we do task boxes all day, every day. And so I have just like a container on one of my counters. And anytime I come up with new task boxes that I want made, I print out the stuff, stick it in the container, and I just tell them, guys, if you have downtime, I need you to check that container. If there's something in there, I need you to make it. So one idea is kind of to have an area where you can put, if you need copies, if you need a task box made, if you have things that you need them to do, you just stack them all like in this certain area. And that way they know, oh, I've got downtime, I need to go check that container. That's one way to do it. Another idea we've had is to kind of make a little checklist. So if I have downtime, here's my checklist of things that I can do and check off or see if need done. So if you have a para who's not super good at being a self-starter, those kinds of things will help them to know this is what I should be doing when I'm not working with a student. Another thing that we're really big on is if you have downtime, go find a kid to be with. Help them with their assignment, play with them, do whatever, make that relationship, build that relationship. So you should never really have downtime because you can always be doing something with some kid. A lot of our kids really, really want and need attention, and we're only one person. So we really need them to have really good relationships with all the adults in our room. And sometimes I think we kind of get into a mindset where the teacher has scheduled a para with, you know, this kid or these couple kids, and you're with them all day. So those are your kids. And they kind of get out of the mindset that they can do things with the other kids. So just really pushing them to, if you're not doing something with the kids that you're scheduled to be with, then find another kid. And just fill buckets if you're doing nothing else. So this is obviously a very, very short list of things that they can do in downtime. But yeah, we just are trying to find like whatever system works for you so that they know what they need to be doing when they have time.
Okay, so this is just laying out the different roles in case you just needed it black and white. Teachers, beginning of the year meeting is to establish clear expectations for students and paras. You're supposed to teach new concepts. Do not delegate anything that you will not do. Recognize and capitalize the strengths of each team member. Like Jess was saying earlier, your paras will have different unique strengths, and make sure that you find those so that you utilize them well. Make plans clear to all team members. Background information, IEP goals, behavior plans, data collections, things like that, so that everybody understands how to go about helping each of these kids. Communication with parents, always leave that to you. Don't have a para communicate with parents. Try to avoid micromanaging because that will ease up a lot of the tension in your room. And if there is something that you really do need to talk about, please do so. Just make sure that you do that outside of the kids' ears and just kind of a one-on-one thing. Encourage them to take breaks. That's really important. I know that my room gets very tiring sometimes. I'll say, hey, I'm going to take a walk. And then if my para, I can tell that she's exhausted and frustrated, I'll say, hey, go take 10 minutes, 15, just go take a walk, whatever. And lead by example. You set the tone. They look at you for guidance for everything. You are a huge security blanket for them. So just always remember that whenever you're leading your paras, and make sure that you have a place that they want to come and work in. Lead by example and giving constant feedback and collaboration. Teaching your para how you want them to do certain things is very important, and so that they can implement those the way that you want, because this is still your classroom. They're just helping you run it.
All right, so on the para side, they are here to support the kids, the teacher, and the team. We are pretty big about we're a team, and so there are not certain things that this para does that this one doesn't do. Everyone does everything. One big thing is I need paras to share with me. So if you're outside of my room with a kid, I need to know what's going on when you're outside of here. So if something's happening, I need you to give me a heads up and not wait until we've got something blowing up. So we can kind of try to make accommodations and change things to make that better. It's really important for them to understand when they need to tap out. One thing that I will tell my paras is if something gets started between you and a student, I am not going to step in, because I want them to finish that situation if they can. If I step in, it takes control away from them. And so I will let them handle that as long as they can and are willing and are able. However, I don't want them to get to a point where they're doing something, saying something that they're going to regret later, or that gets out of hand. So if they are getting to where they know that they're not handling things well, they can kind of give me a signal, and I will figure out a way to intervene without it seeming like I'm saving them, if that makes sense. Another thing is sometimes we will have situations where, say, Johnny is really struggling in PE, and the last 5 times he's gone to PE with this para, he's had problems. Again, that may be harder to do this year, but I will change the schedule so it's a different para. And hopefully with a different face, a different person, different strategies, maybe we can kind of break that cycle. That also gives that para kind of a break, so they're not like dreading PE with Johnny every week. So just kind of being mindful of that. It's very hard when doing drop off or pickup for paras to kind of defer communication from parents. And it's fine if it's simple things like, hey, I'm going to pick them up at 2 today. Stuff like that is fine. But anytime it's something more than that, I just tell them to be like, hey, I'm sorry, we got to get to class, but you can call Mrs. Willard later, and leave the more serious conversations and stuff to me. We always are hoping that paras kind of avoid the jealousy, competition, stuff like that. Constantly reminding them we are all on the same team. We all have the same goal at the end of the day. And that kind of goes with the next one. The absolute best paras that we have are willing to step in at any time, any place with any student. We have had paras in the past where it's like, hey, I need you to go with this kid right now because of whatever. And they're kind of like, ugh, we don't want that. We want them to be like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And that is kind of maybe more, I don't know if that's anything that we really do other than kind of pushing that we're a team, but that may just be personality kind of things. But again, they can complete those clerical tasks to help free up time for us. One thing that we push super hard is collecting data and documenting behavior. We cannot do all that by ourselves. So in my room, I have binders for each student, and it has a list of their goals on it and a place to write down scores. And so I'm constantly telling them, hey, that task is a goal. I need you to write that score down. And so they're keeping scores for me, so I don't get to the end of the quarter and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't have anything written down. They can help with that. Documenting behavior is also huge. Again, when they're outside of our room, we can't document that. We're not there. So I need them to be documenting that. And so normally what will happen is when they come back to our room from somewhere, they'll come sit with me, tell me what happened. And I'm like, great, I need you to write that down then. And even just in the room, if there's a student that's having, you know, a big episode or whatever, somebody needs to be grabbing paper and starting to write things down. It's super, super hard, as you guys probably know, when you're in the middle of something, you're not going to remember the order things happened, how long it was, who was there, all that sort of stuff. So it's really helpful to have someone kind of outside of the situation that's documenting for you. And so we are just constantly like, document this, document that, please write that down. And they kind of get to where it's a habit, and so they will do it consistently. But that is so helpful. And I tell them all the time, I would rather have too many things documented than not enough. So we just really push that, and it's a huge help to us. So.
Okay, this next slide, I'm just gonna let you read that on your own time. We just have a couple minutes. But the last slide says, paraprofessional, the heartfelt hero, using their talents to help students discover their own, dedicating their time and energy each day to students in their care, and doing it all while meeting the individual needs of many. So they are just really awesome, and we're super thankful to have them. And we know that you guys will have great paras, and I'm gonna actually stop sharing my screen. But I wanted to give you guys some time as well to ask any questions that you thought of while you were watching, anything that we can clarify for you guys, anything at all.
This was awesome.
Having access to the files that you were talking about earlier.
You need access?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I can go in and do that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Rachel, did you have something?
This was really great and helpful. We're like going crazy over here taking notes, so and adding to our para binders. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for coming. And I mean, if you guys come across anything awesome for your handbook, send it our way too. So
Definitely.
Yes, please do.
make sure you guys, the last slide is the attendance sheet. So make sure you go in and sign that. And we'll get that turned in for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Access to the attendance.
All right.
We need access to the attendance sheet, I think.
Okay, perfect. I will give you access.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye, guys.
guys. Bye.
Bye.